Welcome you to my YouTube channel. What I'm going to be teaching you today is a little bit about mobile development. And basically, you can use this development in pretty much any environment you want. I used to be an iPhone developer, so I was kind of learned some skills on this, and I thought I would share that with you to kind of show you how this goes forward. We'll be using Visual Studio 2012 Ultimate for the testing purposes. The list view is kind of like a link to something where you can click on it and you can go to another screen. So let me kind of show you what the app running here. I'm creating, for those who are interested, if I can get this completed, I'm creating an example of taking the Atari knowledge and everything I've learned and try to stick it on a mobile app and maybe sell it that way to people. If you're interested, let me know. Currently these buttons down here don't work. This is just for test purposes. But you notice when I clicked on it, it took me to the screen here. And actually I need to do a little bit of changing here. I was doing some tests on this before, so I had alerts set up. So I'm gonna, you can use the alerts too. I'll show you how to do that. We'll just say for now, since this is the first test, we'll say something like that and something like that. Okay, so I'll save that. I'll rebuild this. I'll explain the program here in a minute. I just wanted to show you what's going on. So when I click on the LDA, which is load the accumulator, this brings up LDA test, and it goes to the next page, which is these right here. These are the list views. So if you click on this, it'll take you back to the first screen. There's something wrong with my flash on this, and you can basically see that these right here. Last time I installed this, it crashed, so I'm not going to try to install that. These are list views right here, and I have these set up actually for other tests too. So let me go back and change this too. Originally I had this set up to display a friend list, so that's what you're seeing now. And then I came up with the idea, why not use it to you know, show the Atari 800 computer information on a mobile device so people could learn from. I haven't seen an app that's actually done that yet, so I figured I'd probably be the first one to do it. So let's see, load the X register, load the Y register. So 3 is X. I'm just double checking some things here. X, and 4 is Y. And I'm going to add the other 2 in here since I don't have them on the list here yet. I said I'll explain this in just a minute here. I'm using now JQuery, for those of you who may be familiar with this programming. So what was I at? Increment X and increment Y. So okay, there we go. And they correspond to these list views here, so I'll show you that here in just a minute. First, let's stop this and rerun it. Okay, so you seen earlier I just added in these new functionality down here for the increment X and increment Y. So when I click on that, it'll bring up a little alert box and shows what each one is. Only the first 2 will take you to the second page, which is later I'm going to break this down. If you click on, here's an example, if you click on load the accumulator here, it'll show all the possibilities with load the accumulator. It won't have them, you know, it won't have them itemized by load the accumulator, store the accumulator, load the X register. I'll kind of make it very consistent so that people can learn from it. I think it really is driving me crazy. So let's go back in and look at the meat of the program here so I can kind of explain what's really going on behind the scenes. You're going to get a crash course kind of in HTML as well as JavaScript and JQuery, so this may be a little bit more advanced for people who are newer. I would suggest starting with tutorial videos if you need to kind of walk yourself through that. But the first thing you'll want to know when you're programming a mobile application is you'll want to set up the associated JavaScript with it. The associated JavaScript and, well, the CSS scripts. First, I want to explain something very important. Let's go to the website and show you where all this comes from, first of all. Now, when I was in a mobile application developer, we used something called KendoUI. So I'm just going to go to KendoUI API here to show you where it starts at here. You can go right here to the docs. So what you want to do, the easiest way to do it is, I believe it's this getting started. That's where, yeah, you can go here, getting started, and it'll show you how to set up all of your CSS scripts as well as your JavaScript and stuff like that. And it gives you little examples here. I use this to first get myself started when learning mobile development. Now, I came into a job knowing nothing about mobile development, but I had 5 months basically to learn it. Fortunately, it wasn't meant to be, so that job is a thing of the past now. But, you know, I took away with it that I have learned something good. I learned a skill that I can actually, you know, apply, you know, basically start selling applications on the internet is what one of my plans is. So the one you saw earlier. So anyways, KendoUI is a great tool. I wanted to kind of show you some things about this before we begin here. So like I said, you can go here, you can learn how to install and set it up here, and you can look at some of the examples here. Now, over here in the left-hand corner, these are good examples to learn from once you start getting good with it. And you want to see typical examples and how to go ahead and add newer stuff to it. Before I go into all this, I'll show you the demos page, which is really cool. Mobile demos. So right here, they show you an example of the actual. They're using an I think it's an iPhone or excuse me, it's an Android. There's an Android here, but you can actually switch between them up here, whatever you want it to look like. So here's the Android. They're using iOS, I think. Okay, they're using iOS. So at the bottom here, it shows the code examples. For those who are savvy with code and stuff like that, you can learn from them. I used to do that a lot, but a lot of the really cool stuff here is you can actually navigate between the different applications here. And then when they get new ones, they'll put new on there. So these are all the list view examples they have. Remember, the list views are these things right here you see with the arrows. As in my example, just go back to it right here. This is a list view. This is a list view. This is the 1, this 2, 3, and so on. So those are the list views. And you can colorize them with CSS scripts and stuff like that. You can, you know, click through these, and you can kind of see the different examples. And as you're clicking and scrolling through them at the bottom here, you're going to be able to still see the code for each one. It kind of changes with each app, so, or each example. Modal views, and there's this scroller. You can kind of scroll through the applications. So you'll want to kind of go through the page and look over and see what's there available. Switches, like you can kind of switch these things on. And you can also, you notice I can interact with the demos too. And tab strips are these things at the bottom here. You've seen those on mobile devices. Basically, they call them tab strips because it's a tab and it's just lined up in a strip, I guess. And you can kind of, you know, flip between the action sheet. It's like when you hit this reply button here, I'll show you. It pops up this little menu at the bottom. That's an action sheet right there. So I learned how to make all of that kind of stuff. And then you can add pictures and stuff like that. So anyways, I hope you get the idea. Those are where you can learn from. Let's go back here again. And then these are the actual examples. So actually, let me show you an example here. If you click on action sheet here, and you want to learn more about this, how to add your own stuff, you click on documentation here. And it'll take you to the whole section here for the documentation for that one. So this one is for the action sheet. If you go back to this one, let's go back here again. And let's say you're in the list views here and you want to learn about list view, hit documentation, and it'll take you to the list view section here. So this is going to teach you all about the different types of things you can do with list views and the properties, methods, events, and all that stuff. But it's pretty good. Good way to get started. I would recommend, you know, like I said, read through the tutorials, ask questions, because this is probably one of the best places to start right here is tutorials. Because if you're new to mobile application development like I was, you're going to pretty much start from scratch. if you're very new to programming, you'll really be left out. So it's best to make sure that you at least know your HTML. This is HTML stuff here. You know, the list views and the unordered lines, unordered lists, and all that. You want to know that kind of stuff, because I'm not going to go teach all that. I just want to kind of go into some of the people who have already picked up on this. It takes a long time to really explain things from scratch. So the first thing you want to do is you'll want to set up your own environment in Visual Studio here. What I usually just go here is go File, New. We'll just create a new website here. Oh, actually, no, I don't want to create a whole new page. I wanted to add. So I'm going to go here and add, excuse me, because I already have a project. I'm just going to add to the existing project. So we go here, and inside this default here, we'll just say test page 1 or something like that, and we'll add it. It'll create an example that you can actually work from. So what you want to do is we're going to modify this a little bit. So remember when I was showing you earlier where you can get all this information here to learn about adding your own style sheets. You can get that right here. So once you have that information here, you'll want to basically take the files and copy them over here. So first you'll want to download the KendoUI. I didn't mention that, I'm sorry, but you'll want to go download the I think you can get it right here. Get it started. Let's see what this is at the top here. Get KendoUI. I think this is the button you click on. So right here, you want to download the Kendo trial here, 30 days. If you want to pay for it, it's like $300. I think it's a month or something. It can get kind of costly, but if you start making money on apps and stuff like that, it'll kind of pay for itself. But what you want to do is you download that and go through that, and once you have it downloaded, I have mine set like in a folder here, so I'm going to show you where my stuff is here. It downloads here, and it just downloads into a zip file called Kendo Complete. Now that you have the files here, we're going to need to copy those over to Visual Studio. So you'll just want to go in here and click like Add, New Folder, and then whatever you want to call it. You can call it JavaScript or whatever, and then you can just basically copy the files there by browsing to them. Actually, the easiest way I did it, instead of doing it this way, is you can actually just also copy the files here. I'll do a different example. I don't have this one on here, so I'll copy this one and I'll paste it here just to show you. Wait, am I running here? Let's see if I can then copy it. Let me just drag them too. Oh, these are the zip files. So what you want to first use, you want to extract. If you don't extract everything here to a place, then it's not going to let you copy it. So I didn't have it. It was trying to copy a zip file, and it's not going to understand it. So I already have it extracted here. I'll show you my example. Right here, KendoUI and TypeScript here. Now I can just be able to copy it and paste it over here. I'm just going to do Control V. I don't know where paste is. Oh, there's paste. Right there. So you see it just copied the TypeScript in there. So you'll want to copy all these. These are the examples. These are actually the ones I showed you earlier, action sheet, button group, list view, and all that. You can copy them over and you can kind of go through them. I'll show you those here in a second.